Okay, continuation of the weed guards. Imagine I am tying something like this mirror lure fly, big bass bug sort of thing. This takes a little different tactic in order to make it weedless, and the bass fishermen have been using this type of method for years, and it works really well. Okay, setting this aside, this is on a Gamakatsu B210, or B10, I'm sorry, stinger hook. This would hold true with any of the bass bug wire hooks. I know Tamco makes one. I think Eagle Claw makes one. It's got a really wide gape and a fairly reasonably long shank, so you can build up something like this. Anyway, I'm going to set this aside. This has got to be done before you actually tie the fly, which is a little different than all the other ones. All the other ones, although I didn't really tie a fly, I showed you how they looked with just a lead eye on the hook, no big deal. Now, the monofilament in this case is a little different. I'm using a 25-pound Berkley Big Game, just a standard fishing line. You don't want too stiff a monofilament for this. You want more of a medium-bodied monofilament, something that doesn't have quite as much starch to it. Otherwise, you end up again with a fish guard. So, what happens here is I've got a length of the Berkley, and I'm going to take both ends and match them, and I'm going to tie them in the back of the hook. I got one piece on your side, one piece on my side. And I'm going to tie it down till it starts going downhill there. I'm going to come back to the hook point. Now, imagine I've tied the entire fly. I've got it all done, and I've got this piece of monofilament hanging off the back that I don't know what to do with. Well, I'm going to turn this over. And grab it. And the idea here is I'm going to I'm going to cut it. And again, don't cut monofilament with your scissors. Use a pair of clippers, wire cutters, gate shears, something on that line. I'm going to stick the two ends through the eye of the hook. Okay, you can see how it's looping right above the hook point. I want these about the same length, but on opposite sides of the hook point. And I'm going to grab it with monofilament and I'm going to tie it down. Be a good idea to do it loosely the first time. I didn't do a spectacular job of this. Getting it lined up with the hook point. Come back here and clip off my two pieces of mono. They're sticking through the hook eye. I'm going to whip finish. Now if you look at this, the monofilament is cradling on either side of that hook point. If the fish comes up behind it, the softer monofilament parts ways, they end up with a hook. But you throw this up on a tree stump and it'll slide right over the hook point. Not a real fine example in this particular instance of how to do it. I'm showing you how to do it really more than how it's really done with the whole body built, but that gives you a pretty good way to take a look and see how many different types of weed guards there are. Just make sure that you don't use the really stiff mono for this, otherwise you're going to end up with a fish guard. And this is one of the reasons that I don't use weed guards very often on any of the flies that I have. Much rather tie a bend back. I trust them much more for setting a hook on a fish and still being reasonably weedless. Anyway, that's the next example of weed guard.